Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call today's date is Thursday, March 23rd, the day after my wife's birthday, by the way. I'd like to call the meeting of the Environment and Natural Resources Policy and Finance Committee to order. We have the minutes from March 16th in front of us. Representative Fisher, would you move those minutes, please?
I'm happy to move the minutes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any additions or corrections to the minutes from March 16th? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The minutes are approved. Thank you. Members and everybody else who is here today, we have House File 888 in front of us. It'll be our committee's omnibus bill. And just a couple of things before we go into the bill itself. We have scheduled today from now until 10 o'clock. And then also, I think the note was sent out earlier about coming back possibly around 4. That's going to be delayed. We have caucus late this afternoon, so keep an eye on your emails and so forth, and we'll try to communicate directly with Representative Hansen about what the plan is. We'll maybe know more as the day progresses to make sure that we give you ample notice. And we'd like to get started as quickly as we can later this afternoon or early this evening to finish our walkthrough on the bill. Tomorrow morning, we're planning to meet, I believe. Excuse me. I think I'm getting that Torkelson bug.
Bad one.
Yeah, I know. It's my roommate. And then I don't want to know. I know.
Name of the disease.
And then tomorrow morning, members, it's Friday, so it's not a regularly scheduled time. We're planning to 9 o'clock in the basement. So that will be that, and then that's when we'll actually do the markup on the bill. Okay? Okay, yes, and then if you have amendments, the sooner you can get them to our more than capable committee administrator, we'd certainly appreciate that. And I think you want them by, yeah, 6. Yeah, we have a deadline. We'd like a deadline of 6, but if it can be earlier, that would be appreciated. Representative Hornstein, if you'd manage that in your caucus, please.
Understood.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Question, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we're concerned about tomorrow that we have 2 budget markups going on at the same time. We have 4 members of our side of the aisle in the committee here that are supposed to be in another committee, including myself. And I know you set the time for Friday, last Friday, but I'm concerned about this overlap of budget committees. And I know it's short timing, but this kind of looks like an inability for us to be. I haven't yet figured out how to be in 2 places at one time, particularly when we're considering big budget committee that do go together. I mean, that there obviously, because of the overlap on the committees, we have people who are involved deeply in both, and I think it's a disservice on both sides of the aisle to have those overlap. And I think it's unfortunate. I think that it's a problem, and particularly when we're marking up the bill and there'll be votes. It's very hard to get back and forth and know the context of what you're voting on if you're going to try running back and forth.
Well, thank you. And as I stated yesterday, I'm aware of that and I'm sensitive to it, but the schedule is what the schedule is. And as I said to you, we have members who are in the same boat, and I promise you we'll work as closely as we can with you to make sure that everybody gets input as best we can under the circumstances. Yes?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm worried about this kind of Washington, D.C. style of scheduling, where we see nationally where things just get scheduled middle of the night, putting stuff together, rewriting things, and the minority not being able to actively participate. I think it's unfortunate if that happens here, that type of Washington, D.C. type of scheduling trumps the ability of our folks to participate. And so we'll keep raising the issue. I think it is a problem.
Well, I disagree with the analogy. We're not doing that. This was not scheduled in the middle of the night, and we'll be taking testimony, and we had our schedule set quite a ways in advance. So, thank you. Any other comments? Okay. All righty. So, then with that, I'd like to move House File 888 to be passed and moved to the Committee on Ways and Means. And then, okay. Yep. So we want to. Yep. And then with that, I'd like to move the DE1 amendment at this time. Representative Hanson.
Well, Mr. Chair, and I don't know if we had posted that we would be taking action. I know we were going to hear testimony, but I do think we need a roll call on the DE.
Okay. All right. So, the motion before us, roll call hasn't been called on the DE1 amendment. The chair votes aye.
Heinzman.
Aye.
Hanson.
No.
Backer.
Aye.
Becker Finn.
No.
Bliss. Clark.
No.
Cornish.
Aye.
Eklund.
Aye.
Fisher.
No.
Green.
Aye.
Hoppy.
Aye.
Hornstein.
No.
Johnson B.
Aye.
Johnson C.
No.
Lehman.
Aye.
Lewick.
Aye.
Metza. Newberger. Sundin.
No.
Swedzinski.
Aye.
Torkelson.
Aye.
Uglum.
Aye.
Wagenius.
No.
Stuck in traffic.
Mr. Chair,
Representative Newberger.
Newberger votes aye.
Somebody said it, sent thank you. Everybody agrees to last.
Okay, there being 14 ayes and 8 nays, the DE1 is adopted. And the bill is now in the form that the author would like. So what we'll do now, members, is I've asked staff, Mr. Hagemeyer will go through the spreadsheet first. Yep. Representative Hanson, you ready? We're ready?
Ready? Mr. Chair, I know that Representative Metza is stuck in traffic,
I know.
so if we could note that he was excused for that.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Hagmeyer.
Mr. Chair, I will start going through the large spreadsheet you have in your packets. I always get complaints that the numbers are very small, so they printed it very large this time. The very first page of this are the bill totals for the agencies within our jurisdiction. As you can see, just kind of in general how the spreadsheet works, the first set of 3 columns has the 16-17 spending based on the February forecast. The second column is the 18-19 base. The third column is the 2021 base. And then the second set of 3 columns was the governor's recommendations for fiscal years 18 and 19. Third set of columns is the governor's recs for fiscal years 20 and 21. The fourth set of 3 columns is the House DE that's in front of you now, and that's the column that we'll be working off of mostly. And the last set of columns would be the tails for the House DE, which is fiscal years 20 and 21. And if you look after that fourth set of columns, you can see the change of the House from the governor's proposal and the change from of the House bill from the base. To get to our general fund target, which was on line 35, you can see general fund target line was $292,785,000. That would be a combination of lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 24. Once we flip into the later pages, you can see exactly how we get to these numbers. If you flip to the second page, you can see at the top, this would be the agency totals for the Pollution Control Agency. It'd be a total of, between all funds, of $93,016,000 in fiscal year 18 and $92,666,000 in fiscal year 19. PCA, as you're aware, by looking at the bill, we appropriated by division this time, so the next few pages of the spreadsheet will look a little different. Starting on line 59, you have the programs, how we used to budget, and you can see for fiscal years 16 and 17, you still have the agency totals by that. And then the rest of the columns, you only see the statutory and open appropriations by the programs. I don't have those broken down by division at this point, so that's how they show up on the spreadsheet here, but there were no changes to the statutory or open appropriations for the Pollution Control Agency. If you go to the third page, you'll see the start of the operating divisions for the Pollution Control Agency on line 101. The change items the House is including would be on lines 107 and 108, on 109 and 110. Is changing the general fund appropriations for the Environmental Analysis and Outcomes Division to Environmental Fund. And on lines 111 and 112, it changes the portion of the municipal liaison economist rider that was in the bill previously. It's split between 2 divisions. It also changes that from general fund to environmental fund. And you'll see that elsewhere in one of the other divisions later. On line 121, you'll see the change item for the impaired water list requirements that are provided in this bill, and it appropriates $100,000 in the first year and $50,000 in each year after that for those requirements. The total appropriation for the Environmental Analysis and Outcomes Division would be, for all funds, $25,044,000 over the biennium. If you go to the next page, you'll see the Industrial Division. The House did not make any changes to this division. The total appropriations out of both the Environment and Remediation Fund would be $27,017,000. On line 146, you'll see the Municipal Division. And again, here you'll see the other portion of the Municipal Liaison Economist position being switched from General Fund to Environmental Fund. The total appropriation for the Municipal Division would be $13,249,000. On line 163, you'll see the Operations Division. There are a few change items here. On line 172, you'll see the Business-Friendly Data Services. It was a governor's proposal. It's $400,000 per year from the Environmental Fund, and the House includes that in the bill. On line 180, you'll see an appropriation for $500,000 a year for permitting reform requirements that are provided in this bill later on. In line 181, there's a beneficial use of wastewater grant in the bill as well, and that's $300,000 one time. The total appropriation for the Operations Division would be $11,379,000 between all the funds. If you go to page 5, you'll see the Remediation Division at the top. The House did not make any changes to the Remediation Division. The total appropriation for all funds would be $21,289,000 over the biennium. On line 208, you see the Resource Management and Assistance Division. There are a couple of change items here. There's a $2.5 million per year reduction from Environmental Fund operations for this division. And there's also a $2.5 million increase in SCORE grants in this division. So the division total stays the same, but it's prioritizing the SCORE grants and causing a reduction to the operations. In lines 222 and 223, you also see that the competitive recycling grants are being switched from General Fund to Environmental Fund. The total appropriation for this division for the biennium would be $67,236,000. On page 6 is the Watershed Division. The House did not make any changes to this division in the DE. The total appropriation for the biennium would be $18,440,000. And on line 250, you see the appropriations for the Environmental Quality Board. There were no changes to the appropriations in this division. In the bill, the rider was split into two, how it's been in the past, and the governor had it as one. The total appropriations for the EQB is $2,028,000, excuse me. And that is it for the Pollution Control Agency within their appropriations. If you flip to page 7, you'll see the Department of Natural Resources totals. The general fund appropriations are on line 264. That'd be $80,230,000 the first year and $80,063,000 the second year. You'll see the natural resource, game, and fish appropriations right below that, both around $95 and $97 million per year. The total for all funds directly appropriated in this bill for DNR is $547,213,000. And if you look at the bottom of the columns on line 287, you'll see each agency also has statutory and open appropriations. The DNR's total, if you include those, is $774,223,000. If you flip to page 8, we can start going through the Department of Natural Resources division. On page 8 is the Lands Division. The only change the House is making is $125,000 per year general fund appropriation for conservation easement stewardship, which was the governor's proposal. The total appropriation for all funds in this bill would be the $11,292,000 for the Lands Division. If you flip to page 9, we can go through the Ecological and Water Resources Division. There are two change items the House is including. There's an appropriation of $250,000 per year out of the water management account in the Natural Resources Fund for the economic impacts of water appropriations that are included in this bill in the language later on. And on line 354, you'll see there's Lake Cronus AIS grant reappropriation. That grant, you'll see it show up in a few places, including the first page. It's canceled in fiscal year 17. The revenue carries forward and it's reappropriated here, so it nets to zero in the bill, but it extends the time they have for that grant. The total direct appropriations for the Ecological and Water Resources Division would be $64,873,000. If you flip to the next page, page 10, we have the Forest Management Division. There are a few changes here in the House. They all come out of the Forest Management Investment Account. The governor had proposed $500,000 per year for sustainable timber harvest analysis. He had it from the general fund. The House includes it from FMIA. On line 392, the Next Generation Core Forestry Data System, the House included $2 million for fiscal year 18, $2 million for fiscal year 19, and $500,000 for 20 and 21. Those again are out of the Forest Management Investment Account. And on line 396, there's reforestation of DNR forest lands, and it's $2 million per year for 18, $2 million per year for 19, and $1,250,000 per year in the tails. So total direct appropriations out of FMI for fiscal years 18 and 19 would be an additional $8.5 million over base. The total appropriation for Forestry Division would be $91,062,000 for the biennium. On page 11, we have the Parks and Trails Division. There are 3 change items included in the bill here. On line 445, there's an appropriation increase out of the state parks account. Later on in the bill, you'll also see that the fees were increased for access to state parks and trails, both the daily and the annual permits. So this appropriation includes that and some money that was on the bottom line in the account. It's $4.7 million per year, for the first year, and $5.1 million each year after that out of the state parks account, in addition to what they received before. And there's also an appropriation of $250,000 per year out of the state parks lottery in lieu account. And then line 447, there's a one-time $150,000 appropriation out of the ATV account for the Voyager's all-terrain vehicle trail system. And I should mention on these two, if on the left-hand side of the sheet, you can see the different funds like natural resources or general or game and fish. In the descriptions on some of these, I have in capital letters like WRA or snow or ATV. That's reference to the account within that fund, the water rec account, the snowmobile account, the ATV account, if you're wondering what those are, which specific account they come from within the fund. The total appropriations for the Parks and Trails Division would be $158,750,000 for the biennium. Multiplied by 1,000. Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the next page, on page 12, line 466, we start with the Fish and Wildlife Division. The House did not make any changes in this division. The appropriation would be $135,062,000 between the Natural Resource and Game and Fish Fund. On page 13, you'll see the Enforcement Division. There's just one delivery of natural resource law enforcement appropriation increase. It's $1,390,000 per year out of the general fund. The total appropriation for the Enforcement Division in this bill would be $79,534,000. On page 14 is the Operations Support Division. Most of the funds for operations support are statutorily appropriated or internally billed, but there are 2 change items here that show up, and it would be the legal support costs on line 563. The House appropriates in this bill $2.5 million in 18 and $2.5 million in 19. And then on line 564 is the permitting reform we referred to in the PCA appropriations. The DNR also receives $500,000 per year for this. It's out of the general fund. The total direct appropriations for the Operations Support Division are $6,640,000. And I should mention there's a little disparity here. The $320,000 you see on the on line 568 for the Natural Resources Fund. That's grants that go out to the zoos. In the bill, it's written in a pass-through division, but I was including the appropriation tracking under the Operations Support Division. That's how we've done it in the past, but the bill does have it as a different division. And that is all for the DNR. If we flip to line, or page 15, we can start with the Board of Water and Soil Resources. There were 3 change items included in the House DE. On line 587, the 404 permit study the governor had proposed, the House does not fully fund it as a one-time appropriation of $300,000 out of the general fund. On line 588, the House included the governor's recommendation of $125,000 per year from the general fund for conservation easement stewardship. And then on line 590, you can see the grants to soil and water conservation districts is cut out of this bill. It's $11 million per year out of the general fund. Total direct appropriations for the Board of Water and Soil Resources in this bill would be $26,878,000. On line 604, you can see the Metropolitan Council Parks. The House DE does not include any changes for Metropolitan Council Parks. On page 16, we start with the Science Museum of Minnesota. There are no changes proposed in the DE for the Science Museum. The appropriation is $2,158,000. On line 632, you can see the Minnesota Zoo. There's an operating adjustment on line 640 of $500,000 for fiscal years 18 and fiscal year 19, and then $1,756,000 in the tails. The total direct appropriation in the current or in the upcoming biennium would be $17,820,000. Page 17 starts with the Conservation Corps of Minnesota. There are no changes proposed in this DE. Line 672 is an appropriation to administration for the school trust lands director. On line 675, there's a one-time appropriation out of the forest suspense account in the permanent school fund for work in the Boundary Waters canoe area. It's $500,000. The total appropriation all out of the permanent school fund for the school trust lands director would be $1,100,000. On line 684, Explore Minnesota Tourism, there are no changes being proposed in this DE. The total appropriation would be $28,496,000. If you flip to page 18, we're done with the appropriations portion of the bill. I have a list of the different revenues that I'm tracking currently for the bill. You can see line 705 is the tracking of the cancellation of the Lake Coronis AIS grant, which nets to zero in this bill. On line 708, the state park account, this is the increased revenue from that. And if you look at 708, it just says state park account, and then in parentheses, it says $1 daily and $5 annual. In the bill, it was changed to $2 daily and $10 annual. The governor's rec was $1 daily and $5 annual. So the revenue amounts would be $2.2 million in 18, $2.67 million in fiscal year 19, and increasing over $3 million per year in 20 and beyond. 713, there's a small amount of revenue DNR receives for snowmobile issuing fees for the increase on that. 734, there's a little bit of lost revenue related to the mineral licensing exemption. And then on the last page, there's on line 766, the governor had a proposal for hydropower water use fee, goes in the water management account. The House includes those provisions, but lowered the amount from $10,000 to $5,000. And Mr. Chair, that's the spreadsheet, and I don't know if anyone has more questions on the first page, the totals, how these roll up, or just any other questions, but I can certainly answer those if they have any.
Thank you, Mr. Hagmeyer. Good job. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Hegemeyer. I was looking on page 17 on the tourism budget, and you mentioned there was no change. I think there was no change from the base, but it appears there's a significant difference between this bill and as amended and the governor's recommendation. Could you walk me through what was the governor's recommendation there and the change?
Mr. Hagemeyer.
Mr. Chair, Representative Hanson, I can run you through the governor's proposed change items if
Yep.
you'd like. On page 17, line 689, the governor had a one-time appropriation of $2 million from the general fund to expand awareness of Minnesota. That is not included in the bill. On line 690, the governor proposed $1 million one-time from the general fund to maximize emerging technologies, maximize emerging technologies. That was not included in the bill. Line 691, there is authority to reinstate their carry-forward authority. That would have cost $250,000 to our target. That is not included in the bill. 692, major new event development. The governor proposed $600,000 one time. That is not included in this bill. And on line 693, there's an operating adjustment of $62,000 the first year and $111,000 each year after that, and that is also not included in this bill. That was the governor's change items.
Representative Hanson.
And, Mr. Chair, why weren't those items included?
We didn't have the money.
And, Mr. Chair, you didn't have the money because there's a cut at a time of a $1.6 billion surplus. We're cutting the environment budget, but also economic development here. Tourism is economic development. And I think we heard testimony when this was presented that technology is changing and more people find out about our tourism opportunities online. And to not include those, I think, is a real failure in terms of the budget. Again, we can't pretend that technology isn't changing. We can't pretend that people aren't doing things differently than they did before. We do have the money. The money's there, it's just different priorities.
Representative Wagenius.
Yes, for Mr. Hagermeyer, I think I missed it. How much money is currently in the closed landfill account?
Mr. Hagmeyer.
Mr. Chair, Representative Wagenius, when the account was repaid a little over a year ago, a year and a half ago now, $65 million was deposited in the closed landfill investment fund. That they were required to invest it with the State Board of Investment. So $65 million, I believe $65,005,000 was transferred from the closed landfill investment fund to the State Board of Investment for investment. We don't see the returns on those until they're actually liquidated, where we see the asset grow. I believe the estimate I saw on December 31st of 2016 was just over $75 million.
Representative Wagenius.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other questions? Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Just to piggyback on a little bit what Representative Hanson was talking about, the $2 million that was recommended and not funded
What
here.
line are you on, Representative Sundin?
That was expand awareness, 689. It sounds like an investment that we could be making in tourism. And I think we heard in testimony at one point, there's an 8-to-1 return for every dollar we invest. So if you deduct that $2 million from the investment, you get $16 million back. We'd net $14 million in tax revenue from the state. It sounds like we're stepping over a $14 million bill to pick up $2 million worth of dimes, okay?
Thank you. Representative Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have a question on the Board of Water and Soil Resources and the general fund reduction on grants to stormwater districts. And I think when we heard the legacy bill, and maybe it was this bill, last session, I think it might have been in the middle of the night again, the
Hanson,
dollar.
we haven't- In the legacy committee now, are you saying, or in this committee?
I'm talking about the 22 million that was put into Clean Water Fund. It appears that you're taking the 20-plus million out of the general fund here and shifting that into the Clean Water Fund in the legacy bill that's left this committee. Is that
Right. And
correct?
to your point about the middle of the night, Representative Hanson, we haven't done anything here in the middle of the night, okay? Let's be clear about that.
Well, Mr.
All
Chair, in 2015, it was done in the middle of the night.
We're talking about this
We had the
committee.
legacy bill, where in the middle of the night, the dollars were shifted for grants to soil and water districts out of a constitutionally dedicated fund. And so it looks like we're doing that again here, because it seems that you're getting your cut out of Bowser for grants to soil and water districts, and then in another committee, and this is my question, in another committee, are we picking up that grants to soil and water districts out of the Clean Water Fund in the daytime?
Yes. Other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hegmeyer. Next, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go through the statutory provisions, and that'd be in Article 2, which starts on page 30 of the DE. The first section, this is a section from the DNR policy bill allowing them to hire outside legal counsel. It's the same as it was heard originally. Section 2 is a provision from House File 1291, the permitting and EQB bill. This is slightly modified from when it was originally heard. This, if you'll look at line 31.5 and 31.6, the permit schedule would now only apply to Tier 2 permits, and there was some other modifications on paragraph E. Section 3 is another section from House File 1291. This is about the expedited permit review process. There were some minor changes to this from what was laid over in committee earlier. Section 4 on page 32, this is another section from House File 21, or 1291. This is as it was, this had to do with the shutdown and continuing permitting and environmental review work. Section 5 is another section from House File 1291. This is modified. This deals with the unadopted rules, and it's has changed significantly from what was originally proposed. Section 6 was from the amendment to the policy bill dealing with off-highway motorcycle and boundary trails and having reciprocal agreements for licensing, and it has not changed since it was laid over. Section 7 is another policy provision from the DNR policy bill. This is from an amendment, and it is, I believe, the same as it was laid over. Section 8 is the snowmobile licensing issuing fee that you saw in the spreadsheet, and that was from House File 1116, and it is as it was laid over. Section 9 is a new provision related to the off-highway motorcycle training requirements that was amended on the policy bill. This would require a parent or guardian to be participate in the hands or be present at the hands-on training portion for youth that are 6 through 10 years of age. Section 10 on page 36 is also from the DNR policy bill. This was brought in via an amendment, and there were a few changes. Because we've also kind of combined the Polaris bill. If you remember, if you look on line 37.5, there was a proposal to increase the engine size from 90 to 170. This would allow the increase to 110 for Class 1 ATVs if it's a straddle style seating, and 170 if the ATV was a side-by-side style seating. It also would require, if you look on lines 37.14 and 37.15, that a youth would be able to reach the steering wheel and foot controls for a Class 1 ATV that was side-by-side style. That's all new language from what was heard originally. Section 11 on page 38 is a new section. It would require all youth riding ATVs to wear a seatbelt if it was provided by the manufacturer. Current law requires Class 2 ATVs for that to happen with Class 2 ATVs. Section 2, there's no changes. This is from the DNR policy bill related to their natural resource asset preservation program. Section 13, as well as no changes, also related to that program. Sections 14 through 17 on page 39. These are all from the DNR policy bill about the Minnesota Naturalist Corps program, and they're all as they were as originally heard. Section 18 through 20, these are all provisions about aquatic invasive species from the DNR policy bill, and they're all as they were when the bill was laid over. So you could skip ahead to page 43, section 22. This is some new language. It's expanding a pilot program that allowed equipment with like a service provider who does like dock installing and that sort of stuff to return zebra mussel infested equipment back to the same lake under a permit. This expands the program a little bit, and then if you go to section 23 on page 44, this would also allow the DNR to put together a pilot study similar to this for Gull Lake. Section 24 is from the DNR policy bill as it was regarding permits for invasive carp to allow them to be released to the water under permit. Section 25 is a new provision. There'll be 4 sections from the bill. Representative Miller had a bill that addressed the Fort Ridgely State Park golf course. This is the first section. This would allow liquor to be sold if it was operated by a non-state entity. Section 26 is also related. This would allow golf carts to be used if it was operated by a non-state entity. Section 27 is from the governor's budget bill as it was introduced, and it just clarifies what types of facilities the DNR has to expand for their lodging and camping. And you'll see that there's a new definition of lodging on lines 45.15 and 45.16. Section 28 is another section dealing with the Fort Ridgely Golf Course. This would exempt golfers from having to pay the state park permit if they're just golfing. Section 29 is the state park permit fee increases that was mentioned. You'll see that on line 45.24, for example, the annual park pass would increase by $10, and then the other ones are also increased to adjust for that sort of ratio. Section 30 on page 46 is another provision from the governor's budget as introduced. This would clarify and expand what types of receipts would be able to be deposited in the state parks working capital account. Section 31 is another DNR policy provision that was dealing with state water trails, and it's as it was laid over. Section 32 is from the governor's budget bill, and this would clarify where special use permits that aren't otherwise designated, where the deposits would be deposited, and that would be in the Natural Resources Fund. Section 33 is from the DNR policy, and it was as it was laid over, and this is for life jackets. Section 34 is another provision from the DNR policy bill dealing with the navigation lights for boats, and this is as it was laid over. Section 35 is a provision from the governor's budget bill. It modifies expense reimbursement provisions for certain boat safety grants. Section 36 is a new section. There's 2 sections dealing with this, and these were taken from the DNR put together a report on prescribed burns based on some legislation that was passed previously, and this would just is a section that would take that recommendation and make changes to the definition of prescribed burn as they requested. Sections 37 and 38 are from the DNR policy bill. If you remember, there were a number of provisions that removed the AG's approval or forms and various other things that the DNR does. This is the first of 2 of those, and they're as they were laid over. Sections 39 through 41 are from House File 1292, the DNR's forestry bill. and these are as they were laid over. Section 43 is another one from the DNR policy about the AG forms. Section 44 is from the DNR forestry bill as well. This for being able to advertise ourselves on the web, and that's as it was laid over. Section 45 is, does two things, both from the DNR policy and the forestry bill, and these were as they were laid over, dealing with the AG and the responsible bidders. 46 is from the forestry bill as it was laid over, and then 47, 48, and 49 are all from the DNR policy bill dealing with the AG changes. And Section 50 is a new section. This is from House File 1807. This allows the DNR to allocate surplus wetland credits that are approved under permit to mine, sections 51 through 53. If you remember, the permitting bill, House File 1291, had a provision changing the appeals process for certain mining permit decisions. This would establish a new contested case procedures, and then section 53 is the original section that you saw from the permitting bill. Section 54 on page 58, and actually sections 55 is more DNR policy dealing with the AG. Sections 56 through 60, these are all from the DNR policy bill, changing various definitions for wild animals. Section 61 on page 59 is from the policy bill regarding AG approval. Section 62 is a new provision. This would allow portable stands to be left on WMAs overnight, provided certain conditions were met. Sections 63 through 68 are from House File 1581 that dealt with gross over limits, and these were as they passed out of the House Committee. And then section 69 is from House File 150. This is the scopes on muzzleloader provision. Section 70 is new. This would prohibit the DNR from adopting rules that further restrict the use of lead shot. Section 71 is also new. This modifies the DNR's elk management plan. Section 72 is from the DNR policy bill, and that's as it was laid over. Section 73 is also from the DNR policy bill that came in through an amendment that was removing the northern pike length limit. Section 74 is from House File 1077, dealing with the minnow dealers. This was as it was passed out of committee. Section 75 was from the DNR policy bill about mussel harvesting, and that's as it was. Sections 76 through 80 are from House File 1466 with the buffer requirements, and these were as they were passed out of committee. All right, and then if you go to page 68, this is from House File 1863 that Representative Detmer had about wetland replacement requirements, going to a bank service area versus a county model, and that's as it was laid over, as is section 82. Section 83 is a new provision. This is from House File 1807, also dealing with the surplus wetland credits under permits to mine. And let's skip ahead to page 73 on section 84. This is a combination of changes from the Representative Detmer bill and also some changes that were originally proposed in House File 1291. If you look on pages or line 74.20 through 74.27. There's some slight modifications to address some concerns of Bowser, if I remember correctly. Section 85 is a new section. This would require members of the technical evaluation panels regarding wetland requirements to disclose financial interests or responsibilities for making recommendations on selling credits for publicly owned wetland banks. They must disclose those to the local unit of government and also the panel itself. Section 86 at the bottom of page 75 is from Representative Drazkowski's House File 1557 regarding the recording of restoration orders. There's some slight modifications, just placing some timing, but otherwise it is as it was laid over. Section 71 is a new provision. This would exempt certain non-consumptive diversions of surface waters used for hydroelectric or hydromechanical power structures from water appropriation permit requirements. Section 88 is from the governor's budget proposal for hydro, that was adding hydroelectric, provision for hydroelectric facilities. If you remember when we were going through the spreadsheet, the governor had proposed sort of a cap at 10 million if you look at, or $10,000 per year. If you look at 78.20, this proposal would reduce that to $5,000. Section 89, this is a new section also dealing with the hydroelectric and hydromechanical facility, allowing the DNR to waive fees for past unpermitted activities. Sections 90 through 93 are from House File 1397, Representative Newberger's bill, and these were as they were laid over. Section 94 is from the DNR's policy bill regarding the AG approval. That's as it was laid over. Section 95 was from House File 766, dealing with the listing of impaired waters and allowing contested cases. This is as it was laid over. Section 96 is actually 96 through 98 are from House File 2212. This is the freeway landfill bill we heard, and there's some slight modifications, including designating the closed landfill investment fund for to be used for the cost rather than the remediation fund that was originally proposed. On page 85, section 99, this was another section from the permitting bill, and it has the same changes, limiting it to tier 2 that you saw with the DNR provisions. And then if we skip ahead to page 88, section 100, this is also from the permitting bill, and it also has the same slight modifications that the DNR provision had. Section 101, this is from House File 1355 regarding the VW settlement. Section 102 is also from the permitting bill. It has the same slight modifications regarding the expedited permit review process that the DNR section had. Section 103 is also from the permitting bill. This is for the shutdown provisions, and this is as it was laid over for, that's the provisions affecting the PCA. Section 104, this is the modified unadopted rules provision that affects the PCA, and this is similar to what was proposed for the DNR earlier in the amendment. Section 105 is from 1293. This is the extension of the ban on open air swine basins. Section 106 is a new provision. Instead, you'll notice that this bill does not have the article repealing the EQB, but instead would reconfigure the EQB, and it would remove the governor's representative from the board, and then instead of 5 citizen members, there would be 8 members, and they would be appointed from each congressional district. And then they would need to have expertise in environmental review and permitting, if you see on line 92.6 and 92.7. Section 107 is another new section. This eliminates some of the duties of the EQB, and there's some other ones later on in the repealer. Section 108, this is, let's see, if we go to, okay, yeah, on the page, bottom of page 95 is where the change happens. This is a modified version of a provision from the permitting bill requiring agencies to start working on permits identified in draft EIS. It's slightly modified from what was left. And then section 109 on 96, this is another provision from the permitting bill. It does have a change if you look on 96.28. We're going from 30 days to 45 days. That's different from what was originally proposed. Section 110 is from the permitting bill. This has not changed. This is allowing the proposers to prepare an EIS. Section 111, this is from the DNR's policy bill regarding dedication of trails, and this is as it was laid over. Section 112 is a new provision related to the increase in state park permit fees. This would increase the new state park license plate to correspond with the increase. So if you look on 98.6, you'll see there'll be a $10 increase. Section 113 is from the governor's budget as introduced, and this would just specify April rather than June for certain transfers of money. Section 14 is a new provision. If you turn to page 99, it's making permissive the EQB's responsibility for amending its rules regarding silica sand mining. Section 15 is from an amendment to the permitting bill, delaying the wild rice rulemaking process. Section 116 is the other new section regarding the prescribed burn recommendations from the DNR's report. Section 117 is from House File 771. This is the demolition landfill provision. Section 118 is a new provision. This specifies the transition of the EQB membership from the 5 citizens to the 8 citizens appointed by congressional district. Section 119 is a new provision. This is would require the DNR to put together a forest management plan for the Sand Dune State Forest. Section 120 is the rest of the Fort Ridgely State Golf Course provisions I mentioned earlier. This would require the DNR to make an agreement with the city of Fairfax for operation of the golf course. Section 121 is a new provision. The DNR policy bill, as it was laid over, had a repealer that repealed the Hill Annex Mine State Park. This amendment does not have that repealer and instead would require the DNR to work with the certain local units of government on an alternative local management plan. Section 122 is a new section. This would require the agencies to put together base budget reports again. If you remember, we told them to do this last cycle. Section 123 is a provision from the mineral licensing, the rulemaking provision, and that's as it was laid over. Section 124 is from House File 1003 regarding the certainty for certain effluent limitation requirements. And then section 125 are the repealers, and I'll go through each one here. 84.026 subdivision 3 is from the DNR policy bill. This was regarding contract provisions. 97B.031 subdivision 5. This is a provision related to the scopes on muzzle loaders. It's no longer needed with that provision. 97C.701 subdivision 1A 6 and 97C.705 and 97C.711. These are all from the DNR's policy bill related to the mussels. Section 116C.04 subdivisions 3 and 4. These are certain duties of the EQB that are now being repealed, and these are new. And then paragraph B, repealing a number of rules. These were all related to mussel harvesting, and that they were in the DNR's policy bill. And then that concludes that, and then if there's any questions.
Questions, members? Representative Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Ms. Taylor, as you were going through the bill, you referenced kind of some of the bills that came from like DNR policy. And then there were a number of provisions you said were new. So does that, and maybe this is a question for you, Mr. Chair, are those provisions where there was no bill heard, or are they just magic, where they just appeared? Or where did those come from that were new?
Representative Hanson, some did have bills we didn't have time to hear probably, and others we did not.
And Mr. Chair, just follow up. So then if there are new provisions that are fairly significant, the public needed to be checking the delete all yesterday or last night in order to see them, in order to provide testimony today, and then we'll vote on them tomorrow as part of this. Let's see, how many pages are we at? 104-page bill. There's, how many new provisions are there, do you know?
I do not know.
Mr. Chair, Ms.
Yep.
Taylor, do you know how many new provisions there are?
Mr. Chair, I have not gone through to count them up, no.
Does anybody know? Doesn't look like it. Lot of new provisions. So I guess we'll have to ask a lot of questions on these if there's any testimony on them. And then, Mr. Chair and Ms. Taylor, you were kind of going back and forth about a permitting bill. Is that what number was the permitting bill?
Mr. Chair, 1291.
So that was the chamber bill? That has the EQB and the permitting in it?
It's my bill.
Okay, that's your bill, okay.
Yep.
And Mr. Chair,
Sure.
I would
Representative
note-
Hanson, just doing a quick count on things here. I'm thinking maybe 3 or 4 provisions in the bill were quote new
Okay.
that didn't have a bill.
okay.
Thank you.
Just, Mr. Chair, I would note Representative Metza has appeared, so.
Oh, good. And Representative Metza, I was sorry about your basketball team not winning the state title, but they put up a good battle, that's for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I do know a team that did win the state title.
Not to rub it in or anything, right, Mr. Chair?
Okay. Representative Clark Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And actually, as to one of these new provisions that I have some questions, and I just want, I guess I'm referring to on page 92 where the jurisdiction for the Environmental Quality Board is significantly reduced. And I guess my questions would be quite specific. For instance, the current law, it says that the board shall determine which environmental problems of interdepartmental concern to state government shall be considered by the board, and they should initiate interdepartmental investigations into those matters that the terms are in need of study. What's the rationale for not asking the board to continue to do that work?
Representative Johnson, it's my intention, we've had a lot of discussions about the EQB, and they've also stated that environmental review and permitting is a very, very high priority. Everything that they do basically is regulated by the statutes that we create, and if indeed they are as concerned about environmental review and permitting and speeding up the process, I would like to take the things that they have available to them and really focus on those issues. I think that for me personally, when people have contacted me, and not just during the session, but in the last 5 or 6 years, it goes on and on and on and on, over and over and over about permitting and environmental review and the time and the costs. And as I've said many, many times, and I'm sorry if I'm being a broken record, but we don't seem to be making much progress towards addressing those concerns. And I would like the EQB to focus like a laser beam on those issues for our small cities that struggle with some permitting issues, and for, quite frankly, some large businesses that do too. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then, so, that really doesn't get to my question, though. So there is not considered value in the board initiating these interdepartmental discussions? In response to that, we've also heard, I've been here on this committee for 4 years, and I've heard continuously the need to integrate activities and the challenges. Well, this is one we hear a lot. The DNR says this, the PCA says this, Bowser says something else. And so we've heard testimony for years about there's confusion. It seems like that would get at that. I guess, what's the justification for diminishing the role of the board and addressing those significant issues? I don't get it.
Well, I think that there's ample opportunity throughout government for these agencies to get together and do these things. I don't know that it necessarily requires this. I mean, the governor can call departments together to address issues at any time that they want. So I don't know why it has to be done in this format. I haven't seen that. And what I'd like to do is, again, like I said, focus our attention on the really, really big issues and let those other, quote, conversations or discussions take place within the agencies as they see fit. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It would seem to me, though, that what's significantly different here is the board itself is fundamentally a citizens board. And the value, it's one thing for the governor, an elected official, to recognize these challenges, but what we've heard in testimony are citizens saying that there's problems, that they have these integrative problems or challenges, and it's why not allow the citizens to have a voice through this board to initiate these sorts of activities?
Excuse me. Well, the citizens are still making up this board. We're not changing that, obviously. And, if as issues arise in the future and citizens have concerns, they can contact MPCA, or they can contact the DNR, or they can contact the governor's office with those issues, or they can contact Representative Clark Johnson. Maybe he can pull something together. Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Representative Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And then likewise, the idea of, we've heard a lot of testimony about programs of state agencies that do affect the environment from multiple angles. And I see on lines 92.18 through 20 that the board will not have the wherewithal to initiate those sorts of investigations as well. And can you explain the rationale for that?
Again, I think that the opportunity for investigations by state government exists in a variety of areas throughout state government, and I think that we can accomplish that. In what we've done here with regards to the EQB, quite frankly, we listened to what people had to say. And my initial proposal was to eliminate the EQB. In this case here, we are not eliminating the EQB. We are trying to reformulate what the EQB does. We have a tremendous concern here in the state of Minnesota, particularly in my caucus, with regards to environmental review and permitting. And I really want those issues addressed. I think that a lot of the other things that are going on within what the EQB is currently doing can be addressed in other agencies and through other branches of state government.
Thank you.
Yep. Representative Becker-Finn, I'm sorry, Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're
And I just wanted to kind of highlight again what Representative Hansen had pointed out. As I flipped through here, as we were going through, I counted at least 19 sections that Ms. Taylor stated were new. And I guess I just have concern not so much about us and what we do in the middle of the night, but the public and the public's ability to really have an opportunity to get through all this, because I believe this came out at about 12:50 p.m. yesterday. And with that many new provisions, I'm just concerned about the public's ability, that's much less than 24 hours, and I'm just wondering if you think that's sufficient for the public to have an opportunity to speak to and get up to speed with that many new things.
Well, I do, and if you take a look at the list of people that want to testify today, it's quite lengthy. I received a number of communications from people about the bill being posted. I don't think that what we're doing is, we're not pioneering anything here with this bill that we're unveiling today, and I'm quite comfortable with the process that we're going through.
Okay, so
And to that point, I think Representative Heinzman has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We seem to be hearing a reoccurring theme today, and maybe it's like a, I don't know, a news headline, but this comment of in the middle of the night. I have 6 kids. I like to be there at bedtime. And I'm not sure why we keep mentioning that over and over and over, because there were no meetings in the middle of the night. And I hope that folks would recognize that this process is working and that people are able to participate, and that's why we're having this conversation, quite frankly.
Representative Becker-Finn.
I would say, I'm not so concerned about what happens in the middle of the night as, in this case, in the middle of the day. I have kids too. I don't, we signed up for this job. That's fine. What I'm concerned about is not necessarily when the decisions are happening, but the amount of time that the public has to, get through a 104-page document and, sift through everything and have a meaningful opportunity to get on that list. I believe, our rules state you're supposed to try to get on the testifier list by 3 p.m. And although we had the room reserved ahead of time, and we all knew we had to be here, we didn't know it was in this bill, and neither did the public. So I'm not so concerned about that element as the amount of time that the public has to really weigh in and see what is going on in this bill. Because 19 plus new provisions, that's a lot to digest. When we hear individual bills, we only do a couple a day in a 2-hour hearing, and here we have one hearing scheduled for 19 new things if you include the repealer. So that was my point.
Well, we don't have one hearing. We'll have a total of 2 or 3, by the time we get done. Thank you. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And following up on Representative Johnson's comments, the past is prologue around here. If we look at what happened 2 years ago, and that's Representative Heinzman, why I keep bringing up in the middle of the night, because what happened is in conference committee, and the trend is to always, let's just get this to conference, and then things get worked out. What happened with the Pollution Control Citizens Board, the Pollution Control Agency Citizens Board, is the same thing that is potentially going to happen here with the EQB, is that there was a proposal to eliminate, and then there was a change that came from the House, a modification rather than deletion. And then it went to conference committee, and then in the middle of the night, it was deleted. And it comes back from conference committee, gone, and there's no opportunity for amendment. So here we go again, where we have a proposed elimination in the chamber bill. It comes back, and as Representative Johnson pointed out, in this new language that was presented yesterday afternoon, it changes it. Maybe it doesn't kill it, could be gutting it, could be reducing its ability to do things. We pass that out of the House, goes to conference, and then magically again, in the middle of the night, it disappears, and all of a sudden the Environmental Quality Board, because I believe the other body's bill eliminates the Environmental Quality Board. So if we go to conference, we changed it, that's what happened last time, same stuff, goes to conference, passes off the floor, and then it's gone. And that's what we're worried about.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to some testifiers. There's a lot of people in the room who are, I'll say, citizens. And so what I'd like to do is get Brett Anderson to come down, and Christy Conrad, Tom Gillen, and Ingrida Erdmanis, okay, kind of be on deck, you folks. And then Chris Smith. Those would be our first 5. And I'm going to ask you, I know, well, I don't think any of you have driven 360 miles one way, but I'm going to ask you to try to keep your comments brief if possible. And if you see my pencil kind of wagging like this, that means we're, okay? Thank you. Would you please identify yourself for the record?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee. My name is Brett Anderson. I'm the CEO of Dick's Sanitation. We're located in Louisville. We're a second-generation family business. My comments this morning are to thank you, Chair, for adding the freeway and landfill language to the bill, and we strongly support it and hope it moves forward.
Thank you.
You didn't have to wag your pants.
I figured you'd catch that. Thank you, Mr. Hanson, or Mr. Anderson, excuse me, I apologize for that. Ms. Conrad, I recognize you from earlier, I believe.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Just to clarify, my name is Christy Conrad from AE Conrad. I'm listed as Brian Conrad Company. I'm not sure where that comes from. My brother's name is Brian. Maybe that's where it came. I'm here today representing AE Conrad Company, and I'm here for some of you for the second time to testify because it's unfair, we feel, to make small businesses or large businesses pay for the Burnsville landfill cleanup. I consider myself an environmentalist. A lot has changed since 1980 and 90. We have compost and recycling. I myself compost at my home through a local garbage company. I consider myself an environmentalist. However, what I'm opposed to is the EPA coming to tell us we need to clean up something that an owner won't. I wasn't aware last time as I testified, but our insurance company did pay already. We paid once to clean up this landfill. We have no idea what we could have done differently to avoid this. I'm testifying in favor today of the legislation that allows the state to clean up and help clean up the landfill with the investment money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conrad. Tim Gillen, is it? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Committee. My name is Tim Gillen. I'm the CFO at Carl Bolander and Sons here in St. Paul. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak in support of Representative Peterson's language and the chairman allowing this in his omnibus bill, so thank you very much. Carl Bolander and Sons is a contractor that's been around for 90 years. We employ hundreds of people in the state of Minnesota, particularly in the metro area. And over those years, we've completed things like the 35W bridge recovery efforts, the Arden Hills cleanup of the Arden Hills TCAP site, and even work here at the Capitol renovation. So we are an employer that cares about the state of Minnesota. Bolanders, like the others you've heard already this morning, don't feel it's fair that the EPA send us a letter to help clean up the Burnsville landfill. We greatly appreciate Representative Peterson moving this bill forward and appreciate the chair. Again, we would like, without this important indemnification language, excuse me, we would have to cover these funds potentially from the state fair, because according to our knowledge, that's what we hauled to the Burnsville landfill was waste from the state fair. The closed landfill program was developed precisely to avoid these kind of issues. However, under the current law, the landfill owner has the ability to enter the landfill into the program, and parties affected by this, like Bolander, had no opportunity to decide whether the facility could enter the program. Again, Bolander is extremely grateful that Representative Peterson and the chairman and this committee is protecting the environment and considering the language in a sensible way. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Gillen, appreciate it. Ms. Ingrida Erdmanis, and I apologize if I haven't got that right.
No, that's fine, thank you. Honorable Chair and committee members, my name is Ingrida Erdmanis. I'm a project manager at Buck Blacktop of Little Canada, and we're one of the listed PRPs in the EPA summons. At last week's hearing regarding this issue, we heard that Minnesota successfully negotiated $100 million for landfill cleanup from insurance companies. And I remember how committee members and members of the audience gasped when we were immediately told that 30 million went immediately to legal fees and lawyers' costs from that 100 million. Well, we're destined to waste a much higher percentage of resources in legal costs in the current EPA-initiated process, when initial parties are going to turn around and litigate to try to recoup costs, as the representative from Bolander and Sons mentioned, going to the state fair, and it will continue indefinitely. So the reality of this cleanup is that it should have never reverted to the EPA and this dragnet of PRPs. The current process, as you've heard, isn't fair or rational, and pretty much anyone who participates in any type of property improvement over the course of those 30 years is potentially responsible in the metro area. Why don't parties in the other 100-plus landfills in Minnesota have to pay large sums to clean them up? Well, because we had legislation that addressed this issue, and it addressed it really effectively and well for almost all the landfills. So now, in this one instance, we're being involved 30 to 50 years later, when the employees from our company have retired or even passed away from that time period. And we have no way to really defend ourselves. So we're asking you to support this legislation that will help everyone reach a more expedient and much less wasteful way of resolving the cleanup of this landfill. Thank you, Representative Fabian, for including this urgent matter in the bill. I truly hope that the MPCA will work with Representative Fabian to get a solution passed into law this year for the sake of businesses, school districts, and cities that are included initially in this issue, but really for the sake of everyone who wants to protect the environment in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Urbanis. Next up, we'll have Chris Smith and then Steve Cook from the Parks and Trails Council of Minnesota. Chris Smith here. Okay. Steve Cook. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name's Steve Cook, and I'm from Hutchinson. My family and I are avid users of Minnesota's parks and trails, and I'm also a volunteer with the Parks and Trails Council of Minnesota, and that's why I'm here today. We have two concerns about the bill as it's proposed. First is that the bill doesn't provide a large enough general fund appropriation to adequately operate and maintain our state parks and trails. Last year, the legislature appropriated an additional $2.9 million from the general fund to parks and trails, which helped enable the DNR to continue some of the vital services for our parks and trails for visitors. This bill will eliminate that extra funding. The DNR and Parks and Trails are still kind of struggling to recover from some of the previous reductions that the program has seen. If the general fund appropriation isn't raised, then there will be more challenges and more budget cuts will probably be likely. So services and programs will be impacted as well. The second concern is the degree to which the budget relies on increased fees. We understand that parks haven't seen an increase in the admission fees for a number of years, but the DNR and the governor have proposed increases in that. This bill doubles those fees, or that fee increase, which would mean that state park access fees would see a 40% increase. We feel that, one, that inhibits people from using the parks at a time when we feel that there should be more use. Also, this would make our state park fees higher than any of our neighbors. So it's a problem that way, and again, it's a disincentive for people to be using the parks. this is a time when we should be encouraging more people to use our parks. Information and news, we're inundated with that. And I think people need an opportunity to get away from that and re-engage and physically and even spiritually to revitalize themselves. And that's something that our parks and trails do for us. People get it. They see a need. We're seeing record numbers of park visits. And we've seen a 25% increase in park visits since 2012. So people are hungry for that. We appreciate that the committee sees the need for additional funding for parks and trails. We just ask that you look at reducing the fee increases and increasing the general fund appropriation to get us where we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Commissioner Landwehr. I thought I saw you. And then we'll have Executive Director Seifert will be next. Good morning, Commissioner. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr.
Good to
Chair.
see you.
Members, Tom Landwehr, DNR Commissioner, and thank you for your time today. I know your time is short. I will keep my comments brief, Mr. Chair. We will be submitting a letter to you with a list of our observations, and that will have a little more detail than what I'll be going into today, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members, first off, I want to thank you for your funding bill here. As you recall, we came to you earlier and talked about some of the budget challenges we're facing, many of the usual things that other agencies are facing, but we have growing demands. We have fund balance challenges in some of our dedicated funds. Recall that 85% of our budget is from fees and charges and only 15% from general fund. Many of those fees have not been increased for some time. And so your budget proposal does address many of these challenges, and we appreciate that, especially with respect to some of the parks needs, some of the forestry needs, very important for economic development in northern Minnesota, some of our conservation officer needs, and some of the other needs we have, such as addressing legal challenges to some of our permitting processes. There are some differences, key differences between the House budget and the governor's budget that I'd like to point out, however. First off, and Mr. Chair, members, I think everybody understands the impact of inflation, and one of those known impacts that we have is in the known contract adjustments that are coming up. And unfortunately, the House budget does not address those known, what we call operating adjustments, the contract agreements that are coming in place that have a significant impact across the department. That inflation operation adjustment is going to affect about 96 workers across the department, across multiple divisions, and I may get into a little bit of those division by division, but that's a significant component of our workforce and will affect how we can deliver services to Minnesotans. Mr. Chair, members, what I'd like to do now is just talk about some of the divisions within DNR that are going to see some effects. You just heard about the parks and trails needs, and we again appreciate the increase that the House has provided to address some of our park operating funds. The House budget does not address some of the fee-based recreational accounts, recreational vehicle accounts, in particular snowmobile and ATV. Those are largely pass-through funds that go to local clubs to maintain trails. In the absence of those increases, we will not be able to provide the funds, obviously, to those entities to do those programs, and so the quality of some of those trails, snowmobile and ATV trails, will be deteriorating. In addition, some of our fishing pier, our public water access, and water trail maintenance activities will suffer some, and Mr. Chair, members, I think everybody knows how important those public water accesses are, and especially with the new and larger boats that people have, we want to make sure that those are accommodating for the users of those accesses. Mr. Chair, members, without the operating adjustment, we still see the potential need to reduce up to 20 workers in the Parks and Trails Division. That's a significant number, and Mr. Chair, members, obviously that will have some impact on how we can operate the services we can provide at the parks going forward, and will result in some reduction in services. Mr. Chair, members, the Fish and Wildlife budget, as you know, is entirely derived from hunting and fishing license fees, and that was one of the proposals that we had put forward, was to address some of the fund balance challenges by proposing a modest increase in some of those fees. The absence of that adjustment will result in up to 40 vacancies in our staff, which will have serious impacts on some of the services we provide. For instance, stocking lakes, we could see up to 200 lakes not stocked this year. We'll reduce our creel surveys to just 3 lakes, which will eliminate a lot of very important information we use on managing on a lake-by-lake basis, which is the approach that we take these days. It'll reduce some of the habitat improvements we can do on wildlife management areas and may affect some of our larger units. Mr. Chair, you're familiar with Thief Lake, with some of the maintenance, the road maintenance issues we have in some of those larger WMAs. As you know, the fees are supported by hunting and fishing groups. We have a letter, and Mr. Chair, I know you've seen that. It has over 48 groups advocating on behalf of those fee increases because they know that the programs that we provide with those fees are important to the things that they value. Mr. Chair, members, the House budget does provide $1.4 million annually for the enforcement program area, and we appreciate that. Regrettably, that will cover just the operating adjustment that we see going forward, the result of which is there will be at least 17 current vacant positions and possibly an additional 10 vacant positions due to a lack of funding for law enforcement. That would be the equivalent of a 15% vacancy rate across the Division of Enforcement, which is lowest conservation levels that we've ever experienced, so really an untenable situation. Mr. Chair, members, the Forestry Division did receive great support, and we very much appreciate that. We've got increasing demand for forest products. As you know, we've got a company that is looking at doing a major expansion in northern Minnesota, is dependent on an increase in wood. They're going to require up to 800,000 cords, which is the entire allotment that the state puts up every year. Our one concern with this, Mr. Chair and members, is that it draws heavily on the FMIA, the Forest Management Investment Account. That's what it's there for, but it potentially draws that balance down to a level that is somewhat concerning. It draws it down to about $700,000 by 2021 because of the vagaries of the market, which drives the money into the FMIA account. We like to have an operating balance in there of about $2 million to cover the potential for emergencies or downturns in the timber industry. Finally, Mr. Chair, members, in Division of Ecological and Water Resources, there's not a component to address the fund deficit in the aquatic invasive species account. Mr. Chair, members, that will require that we reduce the department's role in aquatic invasive species management. As you know, there's a substantial general fund allocation going to counties. And Mr. Chair, members, I think what we would propose to do with this this level of funding is look to collaborate more with the counties, local units of government, make sure that they're spending their money in the best way possible and reduce the department's overall role in inspections and decontamination. In addition, there are some shortages in the operating adjustment for a number of the other programs within the Division of Ecological and Water Resources. So, for instance, we will have reduced habitat management, reduced management of non-game species. We'll have reduced ability to provide information to planners, developers, local units of government on rare and endangered species. And Mr. Chair, members, it will be a challenge to provide permitting on a timely basis for water appropriation permits and public water permits because of a reduction in area hydro staff. Finally, Mr. Chair, members, there are a number of policy items in this bill, and as the governor has said, and I would concur, we would like to see those taken out of the budget bill and put into a policy bill. In closing, Mr. Chair, members, the House makes some important investments in Minnesota's natural resources. We hope to work with you further to address some of these remaining challenges, and Mr. Chair, members, look forward to that discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Representative Wagenius.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Landwehr, the chair is fond of saying we need to move permits faster, but when I heard you testify about ecological and water, it seemed to me you were saying that there was not enough money in the permitting process to accomplish the thing the chair has said he wanted to accomplish. Did I hear that correctly?
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, members, the reduction by virtue of not addressing the operating adjustment will mean that we will have fewer people who are working in the field to do our hydrological assessments, whether that's groundwater appropriations, protected water inventories. And that just means we don't have the capacity to respond to permit applications as quickly as we would like.
Representative Wagenius.
Thank you. As you follow up with your letter, can you tell us about how much slowdown that will be? Because that is one of the measures that this committee says it wants, permits that are timely, but we know also we have to pay to make sure we have the people who can do the work. So if you would make that as specific, it would be helpful.
Thank you. And I would,
Mr. Chair, members,
I would remind the committee too that all state agencies have tremendous latitude in terms of what their priorities and their discretions are within their agencies. Representative Clark Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Landwehr. As ever, you're the gentleman before this committee, but if I heard you correctly, you're bringing some very stark news to us. If I heard you correctly, you're talking about laying off 96 of your staff. Is that correct?
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, members, that's just from the operating adjustment, so that's just due to the impacts of inflation, these contract adjustments. We would create a deficit that would affect the equivalent of 96 full-time equivalents, so 96 employees whose positions would either be held vacant through attrition or subsequently, if we can't meet it through attrition, ultimately with layoffs. But it's additive, Mr. Chair, members, for some of these other divisional programs like the Division of Ecological and Water Resources, where we're simply not funding certain elements of the division. So it's beyond that 96 as a total FTE impact.
Representative Clark Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Commissioner, this really, it sparked for me a memory of a conversation I had a couple of years ago with one of your employees at a boat access in central Minnesota, and he was recounting his work life. He was a lifetime employee. My guess he'd worked there maybe 10, 15, 20 years, and how he was actually, the number of boat accesses, number of spots that he had to go in every day had increased very significantly. I don't recall the numbers, but it was clear that he was fulfilling a very full day, and indeed he had to cut the conversation short. We couldn't talk more than a few minutes because he had work to do, and that was his work pace, and it gave me the impression that was his work pace every day. This guy was working hard. Now, my question is, what happens to those places that he takes care of every day if there's fewer people to do that sort of work?
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, members, and so a little background, our public water accesses are maintained by the Division of Parks and Trails, and so that is one of the elements that the division does. As we talked about, there are some dollars going to the Division of Parks and Trails, but for most part, the work on public water accesses comes from our water rec fee, which is a charge on on boat registrations. That is not proposed to increase in this budget, and so that will mean that budget is going to continue to go into the negative. That fund will continue to go into the negative. We manage 1,500 public water accesses. That's what the state owns. We fund reconstruction out of bonding dollars and a little bit out of water rec dollars. We are woefully behind on that. We have been since I started. That's nothing new. But we are, over the years, we have reduced the number of staff in that division because of budget constraints, and to the chair's acknowledgement, we do shift some dollars within the division to address the most pressing needs, but public water accesses do not always rise as high as a maintenance and sanitation facilities at state parks. So it will, without an adjustment in the water rec account, it will result in less maintenance on public water accesses. We will look at two options. One would be to work with local units of government to see if they'd be willing to pick some of that up. Alternatively, if there are more If there are other public water accesses on water bodies besides the states, there might be some potential that we could, temporarily close the state public water access and let the county or city public water access take the traffic.
And Commissioner, would you consider like lake associations to be LGU that would do that? I know that I have several friends who are actively pursuing volunteering to do stuff like this. We've had several conversations about using volunteers, having, a sincere interest in what's going on at those places. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Commissioner, good to see you. You mentioned you were going to provide observations on the bill. I'd ask you to specifically provide your observations on these new magical provisions that have appeared in the bill where no bill was presented. And I think listening to your testimony, following up on Representative Johnson's comments, I think you heard the chair earlier say that there wasn't any money. So in this time of $1.6 billion surplus, maybe you need to put a sign at the park saying, sorry, tax cuts were more important. Or maybe on the trails that need to be groomed but aren't, sorry, tax cuts were more important. Or maybe on the answering machines for the employees that are no longer there. When the public calls in and Minnesotans call in and say, can we do this or can we do that? Just say, sorry, tax cuts were more important.
Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So one of my big concerns is looking at all the fund balances for the Game and Fish Fund, invasive species, ATVs, snowmobiles, water rec accounts. I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about, let's say I'm your typical Minnesotan, and I go deer hunting every year. I head up to the lake and do some fishing throughout the year. Maybe snowmobiling in the winter. What are the real effects that we're going to see as these funds continue to diminish? As your kind of typical Minnesotan, what are they going to see?
Commissioner, before I answer that, members, Ag is not meeting today, so we're going to get through questions for Commissioner Landwehr, and then we will recess to the call of the chair. And I'll give you more details on that when we actually get to that point. Commissioner, please.
Mr. Chair, members, and just a little background, if I could, at the beginning. So we were conscious when we put the governor's proposal forward that some of these increases are going to hit. One person may have multiple hits. So, for instance, I have 3 boats. I buy a deer license, I buy a fishing license, and so I'm aware that I'm going to get 3 hits. And so we did not propose to increase a small game license. We did not propose to increase the stamps or some other things we proposed not to increase because we felt that that would be a lot. But all of those funds are statutorily dedicated to those specific purposes. So the the watercraft registration goes to water rec account, the fishing licenses and the hunting license go in the game and fish account. And so they have been constructed that way because the users, hunters, anglers, boaters, ATVers, recognize it in order to support a system. They were willing to pay for that. And so we have traditionally every 6 years gone back for an increase in the case of the fishing and hunting licenses. Generally asked for a 15% increase. And so think of 15% over 6 years, inflation rate of 2 or 3%, that just eats up that increase. So we are in the mode of coming back every 6 years to have to ask for an increase just to sustain it at the current level. What that means is that in the case of fish and wildlife, the majority of our expenditures in fish and wildlife are for people. We pay for wildlife managers, we pay for fisheries managers. The majority of those people are out in greater Minnesota. In the case of wildlife managers, that was my heritage. I worked with private landowners on habitat management. I worked with private landowners on depredation. I posted boundaries on wildlife management areas. I undertook habitat management on wildlife areas. We did wildlife surveys. All those kinds of things that provide for recreational opportunities on wildlife management areas, as well as for population management of species like deer and pheasant, turkey, the game species. Okay, so fisheries managers, much of what they do is survey. They do monitoring work of individual lakes because we've gotten to the point, anybody who fishes knows that we have individual lake regulations, because we can manage, every lake is different, we can manage every lake uniquely as long as we have the information about it. So we will do population assessments periodically, we will do creel surveys periodically to find out what people are harvesting, we'll do water quality assessments, and then we follow up in some cases where we stock. So we stock several thousand lakes now with walleye. Many of those would not have walleye without stocking. And then we work very closely with lake associations, because some lake associations, to Mr. Chairman's point, will also do stocking if they want to supplement what the department is doing. So a lot of that kind of work is done in order to sustain the populations on those individual lakes. In the absence of funding, obviously, we reduce all of that. And it doesn't just sort of happen sort of scaled across the state, because it means we don't fill one job in Hutchinson, we don't fill one job in Rochester. So it impacts a specific local area when that person is not there. And that's the challenge, is the reduction in staffing means we do less work, but it means in a very specific location across the state.
Representative Becker-Finn.
So Commissioner, and just as an example, so does that mean that it's less likely, for instance, that we're going to catch certain invasive species earlier, or that the quality of the lakes might be deteriorating and we might not be aware of it right away? You know, what is the real practical implication of that?
Mr. Chair, members, and the impact is generally not noticeable right away, because it is a longer-term impact. But in the case of our fisheries managers, sometimes they do detect the aquatic invasive species. Sometimes that's how our first detection comes across. Not always, you know, sometimes it's another source. But in the absence of information, they will be doing less management on a particular lake or a particular set of lakes. And what happens then is then the quality of that fishery declines over time. So you may not see it this year, you may not see it next year, but 6 years from now, you'll definitely see it, because we will not have done the management on that. Similarly with wildlife management, you know, my history is working in the prairies. We need to manage grasslands at least once every 5 or 6 years in order to prevent them from being overgrowing to brush. In the absence of that management, your prairie turns into red cedar, turns into some other kind of brush, and it becomes less valuable as habitat. Again, not something you see immediately, but definitely something you see ultimately.
Thank you.